Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I am Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran, and today we are taking a look at leaked footage out of the Ukrainian conflict. This is going to be the Switchblade drone. I've never seen this weapon system before, and I think it is a game changer for combat among any countries in the future. So let's take a look. So right here, this says footage shows the alleged use of a Switchblade. I don't know if I can say that word because of YouTube's demonetization. Switchblade drone on a Russian tank in Ukraine. Bear in mind, I've watched this video. There's nothing graphic. They cut out anything that would be offensive. Okay. So right now we've got an observation drone. That's what this is. So there's appears to be in this weapon system an Overwatch drone and an attack drone, right? So someone is looking for targets and then a smaller drone is launched into the target. And I don't know if they are flown in tandem, if one drone does a loiter and the second drone launches when the first drone has identified a target, or how this system works. But you can tell it's a US system because one, it looks very US. Second, all of the graphics are in conventional US sort of outlays. One, a lot of them are in English. We can see, yeah, here we go. Res and FPS. We'll move forward a little bit and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So this observation drone is observing from, it looks like 3 different cameras with different levels of zoom in. Also, it talked about the strike being conducted by Ukrainian special forces. Let me go on a quick rant. Everyone is not special forces, okay? Special forces are special purpose forces, and they have unique and sometimes really intensive missions. And in the US, right, we ended up sort of fetishizing special forces, and that's because in the global war on terror, generally, not always, but generally, the Special Operations Forces were tasked with dismantling the small, specialized, hardcore terror cells that operated in the countries. That is not the majority of the warfighting. The majority of the warfighting against the Mahdi army, against the Haqqani network, against the Taliban, against Al-Qaeda in Iraq, right? This was not done primarily by U.S. Special Forces. That was done by the workaday grunts of the global war on terror. Marine, 3rd Marine Division, the 101st Airborne, 1st Cav, right? Big formations. That's who took those guys on. Green Berets, Navy SEALs, ultra specialized. But just like in the Ukraine conflict, they are not large enough in number to be decisive in warfare. They can be very effective for specialized missions that conventional troops just don't have the time or the resources to do at scale, right? Where you need that level of finesse. Hostage rescue is a great example. In the Ukraine conflict, we see this. Russia has a first-rate special forces program. Their Spetsnaz are excellent. They have experience in Chechnya and Syria. They have trained all over the world. They are excellent. And as far as I can tell, they have had no meaningful decisive effect on the war in Ukraine. They're just not sufficient in number to make a real difference. 99% of the fighting on either side has been done by regular troops with regular training. Obviously, a regular troop with superior training, like the Ukrainian troop forces, with strong motivation, are worth several times of a Russian conscript. But it's important to recognize, I think, that not everything has to be a special forces mission, right? It can be just a regular good unit. You should be proud of that. And this is a larger thing, right? Where, yeah, we like, I'm not going to pretend like special forces operators aren't hardcore on another level physically. And they often have a really, really, really intensive set of skills. But I think it's dismissive to sit there and be like, oh, well, regular troops don't really do anything or fight wars. No, they do most of the fighting. Okay, back to it. So here, okay, this is cool. Now we cut to the actual attack drone, which you can see here has a different interface from the observer drone. It has a targeting reticle on the top left. It's got it seems to have pinged or settled on this Russian tank and is beginning to move in. It also says, according to the Ukrainian media, the Russian soldiers on top of the tank were caught in the strike while drinking alcohol. First off, everything I've read about the Russian conscripts has said that, yeah, that's probably true. Russian conscripts in almost every war are notorious for their worrying, concerning levels of drinking. But that said, I'm not sure how they would know this unless they would do some sort of battle damage assessment and found alcohol bottles. It's possible they were just drinking tea or just wanted to get out of their tank. You really wish they had been a little more attentive, but okay, now we cut back to the observer drone, and you can see here, this shot here gives us a little bit more. So you see it says altitude zone, 440 meters. This here is a latitude longitude coordinate. So it tells us it's at 3455. And it's interesting because the US military uses the military grid reference system, a 10-digit coordinate that tells exactly where you are. It's a lat and long coordinate, basically. But the fact that it's feeding a more general coordinate it could be because the Ukrainian military doesn't use the US style mapping system, and so they've switched it in the settings. It's possible that this is not part of the other drone system. They could be two totally separate drones that are just being used as an observer attacker, and that this is actually just like a commercial drone. You can see it has a satellite connection with an upload and a signal strength. It's telling you it's zoom, though 28 times zoom is a lot. Ooh, but here's what's interesting. This may not be a US drone. And I say that because look at this zoom. It's 28,0. That's a European style. An American system would say 28.0 times zoom. So this makes me think that, yeah, they may be separate systems. There may be the US attack drone and another country's observer drone, maybe the UK perhaps. Anyway, here it is. It gives you a resolution and FPS, storage number, speed, and distance probably that it's zoomed in on. So yeah, I'm inclined to say this may be a civilian drone from Europe. Boom, there's the Switchblade detonating, and it says it was supplied by the US, right? Okay, now we're watching the Switchblade in its final attack run. So this is really interesting. You can see right here, the interface looks very different, but it may be a function of the fact that this is meant to be a very simple drone. So we're going to talk as soon as this is over about how this might have changed war for everybody. But let's watch the very end frames of this attack run. You can see here, it actually looks like it may be encountering some sort of wire that's strung across. But yeah, the ability to walk right onto this target is pretty incredible. It's also pretty fascinating to see this target reticle here because it's so low res. I don't think it's for a person. I think this is somehow for an AI, which, if you guys know, one of the things that makes drones so effective is their AI empowerment. One quick note, guys. Just wanted to talk real quick. I have just launched a YouTube course. If you're interested in a career or starting a YouTube channel and you want to know basically all the lessons that I've learned over the past 2 years, I've consolidated them down into one masterclass with everything you need to know. I've gotten over 20 million views on my 2 channels. I've actually monetized 4 channels. So I really have a system down pat. If it's something you're interested in, it's like 90% off with the discount code, right? I can't quite give it away for free, but 90% off is pretty good. Link is in the description. Check it out. Okay. See this last final round. Oh, never mind. And okay. So let's talk about how this has changed warfare entirely. The reason I say this is because when I was deployed, right, there were 2 ways to get drones. There were the big aircraft-sized drones. There were Predators that were armed, Shadows that weren't, right? None of this is secret, by the way. It's all completely known and open. The Shadows and the Predators were extremely hard to get. You had to request them from Brigade, who would decide if you got a Predator drone or a Shadow or no drone at all. That was a routine occurrence. We would request drones. Sometimes they would get approved, but another unit in a more high stakes situation would actually just scoop the drones up mid-mission and say, hey, we need this drone to actually support this other force because they're evacuating wounded, because they were just in a firefight, because they're attacking or doing a raid on a high value target, or they have intelligence that we need to confirm right now, this minute. So it was extremely competitive to try to get at those high level drones. The other drone that we did have, though, at the company level was called a Raven. And it had a very short flight time of around maybe 45 minutes. But it was so lightweight, you could fold it up and put it in a backpack. And then just stick the wings onto it. And on the middle of a patrol, you could throw it out and it would circle and scan the entire area for probably about a mile around your patrol. And this was a huge game changer for us for two reasons. First, no one could sneak up on us because we could see everything around us. So even if we were in a city block, something or someone was overhead watching. And it meant that we knew, in a lot of cases, literally what was around the corner because we could see it. Secondly, it sent a message to anyone else because it wasn't that high flying a drone. It let them know that, hey, we are watching. And when we were doing things like VIP escort missions, yes, they're in video games, and boy, they're in real life, and they are not any more fun in real life. But when you're babysitting a VIP, the ability to put a drone in the air that says, hey, we are always watching. You can't sneak up on us. Don't even try something funny because we'll get you long before then. And it's a pretty powerful deterrent to a potential attacker. But there's nothing in between, right? You either have this incredibly small, cheap Raven drone, or you have the huge ISR assets that you fight over. There's nothing in the middle. But now when you have an observer drone and an attack drone that can be launched by a small unit team, it means that you can be your own Air Force. Imagine if every platoon of infantry in the US or UK's military could deploy their own mini Air Force of two observer drones and an attack drone. It would be a game changer. It would make it so much harder for enemy forces to sneak up or maneuver on your force, and it would mean that potentially you could see platoon on platoon drone type combat, right? Where it was a cat and mouse game between drones as they tried to strike each other. It's sort of like the innovation of the mortar, where suddenly a squad or platoon could actually bring their own indirect fire to the battlefield. Now, the individual squad and platoon can bring its own drone, its own Air Force to the battlefield. This has the potential to be totally an incredible change to the way war is fought if it's able to be scaled up. And as you can see, it must be because these drones are getting combat tested in combat. And based on that footage, it looks like at least some of the time they're pretty successful. Okay, guys, thanks so much for joining me. And I want to just real quick thank our patrons of Patreon. If I can get this to open, those guys make this channel what it is. Thank you guys so much. If you want access to exclusive content, link is in the description. I'll see you in the next one.